Alola everyone, welcome to the Broken Caffeinated Podcast. I'm your host and gym leader, Deej, and joining me today, all the way from the Kanto region with his mighty pink Butterfree, please welcome Fanboy Gif.
Best wishes, everybody.
And also with us, she wants to be the very best, like no one ever was. Please say Alola to Gearhead Alice.
Hey guys!
And last but certainly not least, you'll probably find him in the tall grass, but don't look him in the eye unless you wish to challenge Retro Rick.
Yes, exactly.
Alright, so let's get this started. So, at the time of this recording, the newest Pokemon movie that had came out a few months ago was Pokemon I Choose You. It was supposed to be a retelling of the first season of Pokemon, which I definitely grew up. I can't talk about my childhood without talking about Pokemon. All the hours I spent playing Pokemon Red, buying the cards, everything, listening to frickin' To Be the Master on a cassette tape.
I still have it on DVD. I still have it on CD somewhere.
That's awesome. My God, like I even got the bus driver to play the cassette tape for us all the way from like when she picked me up to go to school. Swear to God, I had the coolest bus driver.
Actually, my mistake. It's actually the movie, the soundtrack I still have.
Oh, from the first movie?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet. So when I heard that they were doing a retelling of this movie, I had to see it. In fact, Fanboy and I went to go see it in theaters, where it was an awesome time. Like the whole theater was mostly filled with like older teens, older people like us, and it was just a bunch of nerds. We're all laughing, having a great time watching this movie. We went in watching with rose-colored glasses, essentially, and then we decided to go see it a second time to see if it would hold up. And not really.
Nope.
Rose-colored glasses will fade very quickly to jade, or jaded in this case.
I think they were just shattered.
The movie used some kind of special move on us, and then someone gave us an antidote, and well, that faded off really fast.
There you go.
All right, so let's talk about like how the movie begins. Like, because in my opinion, the movie started off pretty strong. It starts off like if you saw the first episode of Pokemon, it starts off just like that. Ash is watching the show. It starts off like the traditional, even like the TV show. We're watching the Pokemon League, but instead of Gengar and Nidorino, we had a Blastoise in there.
Yeah, and Bruno and his amazing green Pokeball, one of the first things we see, was not present at all. So I found that a little disappointing, not gonna lie. My childhood memory, I mean, it's the first scene in the game. It's so iconic to the very beginning of, like, 1996 Pokemon, and it was already missing from the beginning of the movie.
Which should have been our first hint that they were going to make a couple changes, a little missteps. But we still went in there. I tried to forgive it. Like, this is why I see movies a second time, because a lot of times, like, the first time I saw this movie, I gave it an 8 out of 10. What my score is now, I'm going to say towards the end, but that's how it was at first. And I even tried to ask another friend of mine. She joined me and Fanboy to go see this movie. She hated it so much that she even refused to talk about it on the podcast. She said that she would just be screaming the entire time.
Oh, goodness.
I'm talking like blood-curdling scream. I told her, I said, I wouldn't mind. I'll wear earmuffs if I have to. She wouldn't want to join. That's how much this movie angered her.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Oh. So it starts off, and I can already, first off right at the bat, like I actually really liked the art style for this movie. It felt like it felt like the original style, but they tried to fine tune it a little bit, like try to polish it a little bit more. Ash in this though, like he looked really super skinny, and I think that was because like when I was rewatching some of the original episodes, like Ash was basically wearing like much baggier clothes, but this one is like he's like a twig.
Yeah, he definitely, and I think that was to modernize everything a little bit, compared to the 90s baggy jeans. He definitely, it seemed like, especially as opposed to the X and Y series, they brought him back down to what a more realistic 10-year-old heading out into the world would look like.
Yeah, the X and Y is actually still, to this day, my favorite version of Ash, honestly.
Yeah, but he was like... He was like a 16-year-old through that entire series. He was substantially taller than I feel like he was in all of the other series.
There's been theories that it's because of the way he was drawn, the fact that his pants and his clothes weren't exactly baggy, like he wasn't drawn with like almost like a boxy look with his chest. It's what made him taller. It made him more presentable, like, and gave him better body postures.
Yeah, I like him more now, especially in this and in the Sun and Moon series. I definitely feel like he looks more like I'd expect a 10-year-old to look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so it starts off just like the first episode, and then Ash is of course late because he has to go choose his Pokemon, and we go to meet Professor Oak, and of course it's the same. He goes, Professor Oak, where's my Pokemon? And that's when Professor goes like, are you a boy or a girl?
In this case, I have to bring this up. Professor Oak is an asshole, and he has been since 1996. He, in the games, doesn't remember his own grandson's name. In later games, he doesn't remember whether you're a boy or a girl. And in this one, both in the original series and in this movie, but even more so in this movie, goes, oh, that's right, there were 4 of you, but I only had 3 Pokemon, so shit out of luck. To the point that, at least this time around, Ash actually says, so am I supposed to go on my journey without a Pokemon? Because Professor Oak's such a dick that he goes, here's 3 perfectly viable Pokemon, but you were late, so here's this reject. You can have that.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was kind of like an interesting little thing that they put in there because it was so different.
It was kind of like the first episode. Like even Professor Oak says, like, he goes, every time Ash was about to pick up the Pokeball, like, he was kind of more of a dick, I think, in the original episode, because Ash is like about to open up all the Pokeballs. He goes, nope, you're too late. Sorry, that one left already. It's like, what? You could have told him early before you present the balls.
Yeah, I will say that in the series, yes, he does go, like, when he opens up and he goes, the early bird catches the worm, or in this case, the Pokemon. He was he was more, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the word I'm looking for. He had like a snark. But in this one, he deliberately just, like, at least in that one, he had a Pokemon in a Pokeball on the podium. It was just hidden, and it was like, hey, here's the last one that's left. This time, it was just like, nah, this is a wild animal that runs around my lab. You can have that, I suppose. So it was still, I would still have to say, if I had to pick a Professor Oak, I'm going to pick the one that at least had the Pikachu in the Pokeball, like, waiting for the last kid to arrive, as opposed to, like, just randomly running around and going, I guess you can have that, and then watching him run up the stairs, but in both of them, he goes, you'll see, and then the moment Ash picks it up, he gets shocked, and you go, you're a dick. You are 120% a dick.
I really liked the slapstick kind of comedy where he, like, falls down the steps. I thought that was really funny.
It was very much a Sun and Moon kind of classic anime sight gag.
Yeah.
They definitely brought in elements of Sun and Moon to this. I noticed that when the minute I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is Sun and Moon Ash, isn't it?
Yes, frequently it felt like they went with a few more of the original kind of anime tropes or scenes, like that kind of slapsticky or more, pratfall kind of comedy, as opposed to kind of just a straightforward, like, hey, Ash gets electrocuted all the time, which was, or Team Rocket falls in a hole. So they definitely added a little more, which I definitely felt was
I have words about Team Rocket in this movie, but go ahead.
Oh, but Sun and Moon, I will say, has brought back a lot that I missed in the original one, which is like when they get electrocuted and their eyeballs get real big, and when they yell at each other, their heads get real big. This kind of missed a lot of that. So I was a little disappointed that they brought in some of, like, the iconic cartoon scenes, like the falling down the stairs or the way that they get smashed into stuff, but they lost some of the elements that really sell it as an anime, which I know a lot of movies do. They try to tone it down to make it a little more serious, but I missed some of that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One of the things I noticed about this movie is there's certain details, not just with art. I mean, in the story and stuff that's happening in the movie, like there's certain detail they pay attention to, but then other times there's details I wish they did pay attention to, but they didn't. But we'll get to that as we continue the review. So like as the opening happens, like you have Ash and Pikachu. Pikachu's still being a dick. He doesn't want to work with Ash. Ash sees the Spearow, throws the rock, and then you have the whole spiel. Ash is being chased by the Spearow. Only this time there's no Misty, which I should say right now, if you're expecting Misty or Brock to appear in this movie at all, no, they're gone.
Wait till the very end for about 4 seconds.
Yes, just stay for the end credits. It's kind of like Nick Fury. You'll see them.
They're there, kind of.
And you know who was also kind of there but isn't there? Gary.
Yeah.
Gary got his shining moment in the sun of being the back of his head as he picks up a Pokeball.
Oh, so we didn't have
His
Gary
own grandson. Yes, his own grandson was completely ignored. Ash's biggest rival from the original series was completely left out of this movie, which I find mostly infuriating on the grounds that they gave us a bunch of write-in characters when they could have given us the original characters and sold it as a nostalgic movie.
Yeah.
But I have more to say about the idea of this being a nostalgic movie when we get to that point.
Like, I personally would have loved it if, like, at some point, even if it was, like, you know, just even, like, a small Easter egg, somewhere written on a building was, Gary was here, Ash is a loser.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah. Nothing. No smell you later, no Ashy boy, none of it. Instead we got, do you want to bring in our side characters?
But as I said, the opening, to me, in my opinion, it started off strong. It was hitting all the right points, and then you have that whole moment where Pikachu saves Ash from the Fearow and all the Spearow attacks. Or wait, no, Fearow didn't appear in that, right?
No.
Fearow. No, I'm thinking of the second encounter from the series. So it's all the Spearows. They're about to kill Ash, but Pikachu saves them. They see Ho-Oh, and Ho-Oh drops the Rainbow Wing, which is the driving force of this movie, as we'll soon learn, that there's apparently a prophecy to this wing. and it's
as always, it's Ash. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, of course. I still think my favorite prophecy ever was from Pokemon Movie 2000, where like at the end it goes, "The world will turn to Ash. Ash, you're in the prophecy." Well, now I wish Mom made me Bob.
Ouch.
I swear to God, I still remember that to this day. I'm just like, Christ. Like, that felt so forced to me, but whatever. So it starts off strong. It even plays the original theme song, which I remember, like, a bunch of people in the theater were all singing along to it. I definitely was singing along to it. And then the movie starts taking a quick little nosedive. Because that's, if you're expecting the movie to be, like, all amazing, prepare to be disappointed.
Yeah, no way. No way was it amazing.
It starts off, Ash is talking to his mother, who was oddly enough voiced by the same girl who voices Misty, which definitely threw me off.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same, as far as I remember, it's the same actress who still voices Misty post the switch from the 4Kids voice actors to the new voice actors, the Pokemon Company voice actors. But I will say that I feel like she phoned it in and we were just getting the regular voice that she talks with, which sounds a lot more like Misty than really Ash's mom that we've seen in any Pokemon series since Advanced when that actress took over. So I do feel like she really was very lazy she was like, I guess I gotta do Ash's mom again. All right, well, I don't remember that voice, so here's Misty, I guess.
And it's around this point, they're in the Pokemon Center. We're introduced to one of the new characters. It's going to be one of Ash's new companions. It's this girl who has a Piplup, whose name just kind of leaves me. What was her name again?
Verity.
Thank you. Funny enough, I actually remember the other guy's name, and his name I was always forgetting. I remember Sorrel. I think he was also in the Pokemon Center. He overhears what's going on. A Pokemon trainer runs into Pokemon Center and is basically telling people that his Vaporeon got like attacked by an Entei, who I guess at this point, I guess he's in Kanto still. Maybe.
He's in one of those bizarre in-between regions, not really in any regions areas that all of the movies take place in.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one of the things we should point out is at certain points, I kind of got lost. I was like, at first it seemed like we were in Kanto, but then it looks like he makes a jump to Johto real quick, or he's jumping back and forth. And even at one point, he's actually fighting one of the gym leaders to get the rainbow badge. And he even mentions, goes, "This is my third badge." It's like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Did we skip a badge, or what's going on here?
It skipped around a lot, and it made for a very not like a fluid story.
Well, the rainbow badge is only thrown in because rainbow badge,
yeah.
rainbow wing, rainbow warrior, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
It was one of those moments I was thinking about the movie. I was like, rainbow badge, oh, fuck you. Like, I want to think about the writers. Oh, God, what was I thinking? Yeah, so we're introduced to Verity. Sorrel is the other character. And these characters they're not really all that interesting, at least in my opinion. They don't feel fleshed out. They could have been interesting, but we barely know. We don't really know much about them except for two things, which we learn later on. But there's one thing I want to point out before we continue is around this point when Ash is in the Pokemon Center, this is where we're introduced to Team Rocket. And I think we should just say right now, Team Rocket does nothing in this movie.
They don't even...
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. They don't even meet up at all. Like, they're in the same spot, but they don't ever, like, say two words to each other. It's like, why were they there?
If you enjoy...
They never interact with Ash.
Yes, if you enjoy the Team Rocket movie versions where they end up being kind of the hidden unsung heroes of the movie, expect to be incredibly disappointed by this, because that's always been my favorite part, is that somewhere throughout the movie Team Rocket gains a conscience and they save the day. And really, Ash and all them never really notice it. They do it as like a little side story in the movie, and they're like, hey, we gotta help the Legendary somehow, and they fight a couple bad guys or whatever. This time, nothing. By the end of the movie, Ash doesn't even know that they exist, and for some reason, they're following him, with absolutely no explanation on their character parts as to why they're following him, what their motivation is, or even what Pokemon they have past Wobbuffet and Meowth.
Right.
So
it's so creepy that they're stalking a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, at least
someone points out they're trying to chase after Pikachu. No, the original reason that they decide to follow Ash and the gang is because they are believing Ash is going to lead them to Ho-Oh to capture Ho-Oh. They know nothing about Pikachu. They know nothing about how powerful it is. They just use Ash to get to Ho-Oh, and then out of nowhere, hey, let's stalk this kid.
Can we just talk about the name Ho-Oh, though? Every time they said it, I thought they were saying Ho-Ho, and I just thought that was really funny.
I always thought that was the name of that Pokemon for the longest time.
Oh, that would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah, right?
Gage.
Yes.
So your boy, Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, his voice actor, this is his only role.
Really?
Yes.
That explains why it was so subpar.
He has done nothing else but this movie. I'm looking him up right now. He has done nothing else but this movie.
It was brutal. The voice acting in this movie in general is brutal.
There's two already before the movie. This is not even like halfway through the movie, and there's already two problems with this movie. One of them is the pacing issue. Like I mentioned, it's not clear. It seems like we jumped from Kanto to Johto, or how many days it's been. It will make weird time jumps where it's like they seem like they're hanging together for maybe a day or two, and there's a point where Verity is on her phone and she's swiping all these pictures of them and all these different buildings and everything. It's like, whoa, when was this?
Yeah, like when did that happen? It didn't make sense.
We don't and the other one is it's the voice acting. The voice actor for Ash was fine. Pikachu was fine.
Well, that's the original voice for Ash.
Yeah, all of the original recurring character voices all did kind of, for the most part, their job, which was voicing the characters that we remember or the characters that they still play on TV. It was the newbie characters that just felt like they were phoned in. Like they got people off the street and they were like, hey, read these lines in a slightly childish sounding voice. And they did. And they threw it in with beloved voice work that we all remember and all feel very strong about. And we got this hour. How long was this movie?
An hour and like 20 minutes.
An hour and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, that painful length of time.
Which is kind of sad because I've watched longer anime movies but felt like they went like quick. And meanwhile with Pokemon, this one, it's like, God damn, I remember this scene being so long.
Yeah, I kept getting distracted from it because I was just like some parts of it I feel like were like drawn out or they didn't like need to be in there. So I would get very distracted at some points.
One thing I also want to point out, if you were like me or some of the other people who complain that Ash doesn't capture a lot of Pokemon, guess how many Pokemon Ash captures in this entire movie? And mind you, this is supposed to span, supposedly by the movie's logic, it spans weeks maybe? Possibly?
Around there.
Oh my god, I noticed that too.
He goes from fucking Kanto to Johto. Guess how many Pokemon he has?
It had a...
3.
Yeah, it had to have been like 3 or 4. Yeah.
He had 3. He had exactly 3 Pokemon. He had Pikachu, he had the Caterpie, which evolves into Metapod, and then Butterfree, and he had Charmander, who...
But then Butterfree
irritatingly
left.
enough... Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I have a lot to say about that fucking scene.
Seriously.
About that fucking scene, which we're actually coming towards soon. So anyway, Ash overhears this kid about the Entei, and they decide to go chasing after it. Which at this point, Ash only has 2 Pokemon, which is a Pikachu and a Caterpie. And I'm already laughing my ass off to this point. It's like, that'd be one fucking hell of a team. Pikachu, Caterpie, all of a sudden out of nowhere, goddamn Entei.
Yeah.
That'd be...
They saw...
That's one hell of a team.
They saw a lot of legendary Pokemon for like a very short amount of time. So that was very interesting to say the least.
So as you would expect, Ash tries to go after the Entei, and if you took a guess how well that went, it went horrible. Like, Entei almost fucking annihilated Pikachu. And if you're thinking, you're like, well, it's, you know, Pikachu wouldn't die. Pokemon don't die.
Charmander almost died.
Yeah.
The premise of Pokemon mortality is made real.
True.
In this movie.
That's definitely true.
Which kind of baffled me a bit because it's like, but we have ghost Pokemon. Don't they become ghost Pokemon because they die? It's like, wait, Pokemon die? Well,
DJ,
what do you think happened?
Your first argument when we learned that Pokemon die was, didn't the Gengar get frozen at the very beginning of the movie by the Blastoise's ice beam? And then my response was simply, it's already a ghost. So, ghost Pokemon clearly are different than and that's again based on are we talking the manga, or are we talking the games? Because the games, ghost Pokemon are horrifying creatures, where in the anime they're really just kind of tricksters and objects like every other Pokemon. As opposed to death, which is sadly permanent.
So it's around this point where after they chase after Entei runs away, and then we have another quick moment with Team Rocket, and I don't really think there's much else to be said about Team Rocket. Through the entire movie, they blast off away 3 times, I think it was, or they blast away twice, and then they fell down the mountain.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. There's nothing else to say about Team Rocket. They're done. They're gone. They might as well not exist in this entire movie. So that's when we meet Verity. Verity is being a total bitch to Ash, like
so
making
annoying.
fun of him, like, "Oh, you and your mommy," which kind of makes me laugh now because as you later learn, like, we don't know much about these characters. They weren't fully interesting to me at all. Like maybe Verity a little bit more because we start learning that she has major mommy issues. Like, she ran away from home because her mother never approves of anything she does, or nothing's ever good enough for her.
And it's clearly Cynthia.
Yeah, you see, like, when she's looking through the photos on her phone, you see a picture of her mother, it looks just like Cynthia.
And her name is Verity, and she's from Little Root Town, which is in Sinnoh, which would make sense if her mother was in fact Cynthia. But again, completely non-canonical Cynthia, this magical alternate universe Cynthia, which I would love to have happen if they continue these movies, and eventually we bump into Cynthia and Verity again when they finally bring these movies into the Sinnoh Pokemon Legendaries, and we go, oh shit, that confirmed. Awesome.
Crisis on Infinite Pokemon.
I found it funny that her mom was like this famous Pokemon trainer, and then when she left to go Pokemon training or Pokemon hunting, whatever, she didn't have any contact with her because she felt like she wasn't good enough. But in my head, I started to laugh because I was like, well, she's a great Pokemon trainer. She can, like, give you tips and skills and hints and all that stuff. So it sucks that she felt like she was never, like, good enough.
Well, yeah, but Verity only had 2 Pokemon just like everyone else in this universe. So,
oh, true. True.
How good can you be when you have 2 Pokemon? And one of them is a Lapras that we only see used to ferry them across a river.
There was a line that was also that made me laugh in the movie where Verity, we only learn about the mommy issue like in a little tiny scene that just seems to kind of get thrown in there, where then she starts telling Ash and Sorrel like, oh, you know, my mother, she's a famous gym leader, and nothing I ever do is ever good enough for her. And then the Ash and Sorrel go, you know what? I bet your mom would be proud of you. I'm like, for what?
So forced.
Running away from home and never contacting her?
She had a.
But I mean, let's carry on with let's carry on with Sorrel, because we need to get to his amazing backstory. In order to do that, I do think we need to tap on the next nostalgic moment for all of fans, which was Charmander.
Yeah, Sorrel, at this point, we briefly learn about him. He has a Lucario, and that's pretty much his only Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
We later learn, like, he's basically, in my opinion, he's kind of like half Brock, half Casey, or like basically Brock, like how Brock wants to be like a Pokemon breeder, but then later wants to be a Pokemon doctor. That's what Sorrel wants to be, right? Like he wants to be a doctor, I believe.
I cannot remember.
He wanted to be a
so
professor,
boring,
and he needed medical training for that.
Oh, that's what his backstory was. I stopped caring.
Well,
it wasn't clear enough.
See, at this point in the movie, I'd stroked out. So I came to when I saw Charmander on the screen and was like, "Oh, good, something I remember."
Well, his actual backstory was that.
Wait, we gotta get into the backstory after we explain how he gets introduced.
Okay.
He gets introduced thanks to the Charmander.
Right.
Yeah, what I meant by like how this movie decides to take certain details, they recreate certain scenes from the first season, because this is basically a retelling of it, and that's where we see Charmander. At this point, Ash and Verity are trying to run away from the rain, and that's where we meet the Charmander. We have the infamous scene where Charmander is waiting for his trainer, and he's in the rain. He's not even trying to cover it with a leaf. His flame's just right there. And that is where we're also introduced to the trainer who left Charmander behind, who's supposed to be the Gary Oak of this movie. Some guy
they should have just used Gary.
Yeah.
I would have rather at the very beginning of the movie we see Gary accept the Charmander, and then Gary go, "This Charmander sucks," and leave the Charmander. And then you go, "Cool, Ash got the Charmander that he originally wanted because Gary decided he didn't want it." But instead we got another no backstory filler character.
It was just another. Cross. He might as well just been like one of the punk riders you fight in one of the Pokemon games. There was nothing else to him. But my favorite is when you first see him, he's walking with a Lycanroc, and no one is kind of shocked by this. They're just treating it like a normal thing. It's like I'm pretty sure you don't see him in you don't see him in Kanto or Johto at all.
But this movie's non-canonical. The regions are completely indiscriminate. I mean, in every Pokemon movie, we see Pokemon from every region. We even meet legendary Pokemon. Nobody's like, oh my god, that's a legendary Pokemon. They're just like, oh,
it's just a Pokemon.
That trainer's got a Darkrai. Oh, okay, that's the thing that exists. Cool. So there is a very vague concept of regional differences in Pokemon. So him having a Lycanroc meant absolutely nothing except, hey, kids that are watching this movie, don't forget Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out.
We'll get to that. So
Earth Pokemon, basically.
That's what every Pokemon movie is, except for the first movie, which was the only one that was canon. And possibly Mewtwo Strikes Back? No,
I thought that was canon. Or
Return of Mewtwo,
possibly.
Which was the second one that he shows up in.
It was Mewtwo. I thought it was Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Isn't Mewtwo Strikes Back the first movie?
I thought it was Mewtwo. I thought it was Mewtwo Strikes Back or Mewtwo Returns. It might be Mewtwo. There Returns. It was the second movie. It was a direct sequel, supposedly a direct sequel to the first Pokemon movie where Giovanni and Team Rocket are trying to relocate Mewtwo and capture him.
Yeah, I think it was like Mewtwo Returns, something like that. But then we even meet another Mewtwo at a later movie, so again, totally hard to follow the canons of any of the movies.
Alright, so Cross is a dick. He says like this, Charmander's weak, Charmander's still trying to follow him. It's a heartbreaking scene. Ash and Verity pick him up and they go to look for shelter, and that's when they run into a cave. That's where they meet Sorrel, who goes to aid the Charmander. That's when we learn he wants to be like a Pokemon professor, and he's trying to make this medicine to heal Charmander. And they have this little fire. I want to point this out. They have this fire that could easily warm up the Charmander. And then so Sorrel goes, listen, we have to warm up this Charmander. And Ash goes, don't worry, I'll warm him up. He decides to wrap him up in his rain-soaked coat and keep him far away from the fire. Why did you not just put his tail in the fire or something?
Yeah, for science. For science. Put his tail in the fire, see if that helps.
Body heat, guys.
But no,
I know,
body heat.
No, I know that would work. Here's how I know it would work. Because I remember a long time ago, in the Pokemon Snap game, if you wanted to picture Charizard, you had to throw an apple at Charmeleon, knock him into lava, and that would evolve him into Charizard. So that's how I know the fire would not kill Charmander. If anything...
Charmander logic is irrational logic. When Charizard got frozen in the Orange Islands episodes, Ash spent all night warming it up by rubbing him with his raw hands to thaw him out. As opposed to, I don't know, fire Pokemon, or warm water, or a lot of blankets. Nah, rub him until your hands bleed, because that will warm him up.
Well, see, I thought that was the reason he did that was because the writers wanted to try and do something where Ash was trying to show Charizard, yeah, see here, I care, I'm hurting my hands for you, and then that's when Charizard started to kind of lighten up to Ash.
And that's exactly what they did in this. Rather than just going, hey, here's a fire, sit by the fire, it's, hey, if Ash holds you all night, clearly he's the one. Because that's how all relationships start.
Yeah. Can we just talk about how Charmander was kicked? He was kicked. I felt bad.
Oh yeah, this movie is brutal, and not just with the kicking of Charmander. Like, I even felt like certain impacts from Pokemon battles. To me, with this animation, you could really feel the weight of the punches or the body slams, like especially from when the Snorlax body slams right on top of the Pikachu, but Pikachu is able to like bounce it right, shoot it up in the air.
Yeah, because he used his Iron Tail or something, whatever it's called.
So like that was one of my highlights. Was I loved the anime. I thought the battles were really cool. Like some certain battles, as the show goes, as the movie's going on, we get maybe I think it's like a somewhat little montage, like a short one. Like again, the movie will slow down to a pace, but then quickly shoots over. Like, I'll almost quickly forget. I'll be like, whoa, wait, hold on. We were not doing this? Or, wait, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
And that's... Actually, I think I realized who Sorrel was supposed to kind of be. Like, he was supposed to be almost like the new Pokedex. And I say that because if you're expecting to see Dexter or any of the Pokedexes, those don't exist in this Pokemon movie. Because everyone has sweet-ass iPads now instead.
Yeah, that was a little disappointing that he didn't get, like, the Pokedex at the beginning, like he normally would. It was just, that's one of those traditional things that you want to be in it.
And it's around this point, we should probably point this out. Like, it's around this point as Ash is trying to take care of Charmander. That's when he shows Verity and Sorrel about the Rainbow Wing, because Sorrel mentions he wants to try and find all these legendary Pokemon. He mentions Ho-Oh. Ash says, like, I saw him, shows him Wing. And that's where we're introduced to Marshadow, who then becomes like a shadowy guide now to Ash, follows him and the gang wherever they're going. Because Ash then decides, like, that he starts hearing about this prophecy about the Rainbow Warrior. Like, that's the main plot of the movie is Ash has been chosen to become the next Rainbow Warrior or Rainbow Hero.
I think it was Rainbow Mask.
Yeah, the Rainbow Hero.
Was it Hero?
Yeah, the Rainbow Hero.
Yeah, so and he goes, you know what? I decided I'm gonna fight Ho-Oh, and I remember thinking, like, in the beginning when I first saw it, I was like, is there any more to this prophecy? Is it just about? I was like, and you pretty much learned, yeah, that's basically exactly what it is. However, if someone of pure heart of darkness or a pure evil heart touches the feather, it'll turn black, and then bad shit happens.
Yeah, there wasn't enough detail about that, I don't think, about like the prophecy and such.
It just felt weak compared to other prophecies or other stuff that happened in Pokemon movies.
It was strange. I didn't like that.
So at this point, they're traveling, they're becoming more friends, all that but time is going by, shooting by way too quickly, and I'm trying to remember exactly what would shortly happen after this.
We hear about death.
Was that before or after the battle with Cross?
I believe that was in the cave.
No,
I believe that was in the cave. That was because of Charizard's near-death experience of his tail almost going out.
Oh, I thought it was because I remember Ash. He went into this other shadow realm kind of place where he said, where he went to a world where Pokemon didn't exist, and then Sorrel mentions, goes, it is possible for Pokemon to no longer be with us.
Oh yes, it is possible for Pokemon to leave us. That's right.
But that's a little ahead. Basically, so around this point, Ash is fighting with other Pokemon. That's when Charmander evolves to Charmeleon. Charmeleon is like buddies with Ash, which immediately threw me off because I was like,
disgusted me.
Yeah, because I remember in the theater, you and I were just like, oh, come on. Because, like, Charmeleon immediately gives Ash a hug. It's like, you're supposed to be a dick.
Yeah, that was incredibly disappointing from a nostalgic point of view. Even the first time I watched it, and then the second time I watched it, I'd given up so hard on the idea that they were trying to follow any nostalgia. They were just writing a story and throwing things that they knew we'd like to see and claiming that it was a retelling.
And then that's where Cross decides to show up, because at this point he's following Ash, and at this point we don't kind of know why. It just seems really weird. And that's when he decides to battle Ash, and he has a Blaziken, so that's... Because every Pokemon trainer...
He has a...
Oh, not Blaziken, I'm sorry. It was Incineroar.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Blaziken. Fucking A. So he has his Incineroar, and they like I said, the fight was fucking brutal in my opinion. Like it's Blaziken Incineroar against fucking Charmeleon, kicks his ass, and that's when Cross says probably my favorite line in the entire movie, where he goes at it, he goes, you lost. Use cheap friendship and moves that your Pokemon couldn't use. You're the worst Pokemon trainer I've ever seen, and you'll never win. And the first time I heard that quote, I went, you know what? You are 25% correct on that.
I thought it was very, very cheesy how, like, friendship was the underlying, like, theme throughout the movie. It was always friendship. I was like, alright, we get it, friendship.
But friendship is the underlying theme in all children's anime. That's how that works.
Do you know how many critical attacks I've dodged in my Pokemon game because all my Pokemon love me?
Well,
I think friendship is an important thing.
No, of course, but I think they overdid it a little bit with the friendship, but that's just my opinion.
Well, friendship is magic.
But Yu-Gi-Oh! Friendship saved the world on multiple occasions, and they drew a smiley face on their hand.
Friendships are great, don't get me wrong, but to say it in every scene.
Oh, God,
don't be knocking friendship!
I'm so knocking friendship. Screw friendship. No, I'm just kidding.
But after Charmeleon gets his ass kicked, that's when Ash starts kind of delving towards the dark side almost. So he goes, Pikachu could have won that fight. And Soro's doing the whole speech of if all you care about is winning, then you're no better than Cross. And then Ash runs off, and that's when, because he's
we run into the most cliche trope in all of Pokemon, which is the fantasy of a world where everything's black and white and schools are all Japanese.
But what I have to say, what I thought was really cute, I didn't notice it the first time, but the second time I saw it was, I love how they made one of the professors, one of the Elite Four members.
Yeah, Agatha. Agatha played the teacher at the very stock Japanese anime school. The one where probably the pool's on the roof, and then there's also that fenced-in roof that everybody hangs out at lunch, and all of it was very cliche.
I don't know if it was just me, but those cutscenes were very confusing the first time I watched it. The second time it made obviously more sense, but the first time it kind of threw me off. I was like, wait, what's going on now? And I had to replay it, and it was a little confusing.
And as we learn, part of this weird shadow realm where Ash is living in is partly because because his heart's becoming black, I guess. It was infecting the Rainbow Wing, and I guess it was sort of caused by Marshadow, or Marshadow was trying to fix it. I wasn't too sure.
I think he was bad.
Yeah, I never really pieced that together. I think Marshadow was trying to help.
Really?
Marshadow saw what was happening, because Marshadow is supposed to guard the warrior, the hero.
Right, but so towards the end, it seemed like he was more so he made we'll talk about that later. Number 2.
Oh, well, that's because everything had been tainted by that point. Right. But in this earlier part, it feels like he caused Ash to fall asleep so that way he could bring him into this location, give him this dream where things weren't how he wanted them to be.
That's true.
Deliberately, so that way when he woke up, he would go, oh, I shouldn't be this way.
I just want to point out how, I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like in this movie particularly, we see more behaviors and attitudes of a 10-year-old. He was very sassy in this movie, especially in this part right here, where he was like, well, if the Charmander was better, the Charmeleon was better, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I just thought he was very, very sassy in this movie.
Well, he also threw shade on his mom at the very beginning of the movie 3 times. So yeah, he definitely was, and I feel like that's partly because they're really, and in the anime too, I feel like they're trying to remind everybody that he's supposed to be 10, and the goal is to make 10-year-olds want to play games and trading cards, and it's not really meant for adults.
I always completely forget that he's supposed to be 10 years old half the time.
Yeah. I agree with that. Because it's a very weird premise that they're letting 10-year-olds just go off on their own in adventure. But it is what it is.
It's Pokemon that I've just learned to accept it.
Yeah.
But you have the other cliche of Ash is starting to remember Pikachu, and thus he's about to break out of the Shadow Realm. It's doing that whole, we're getting the Inception where Ash is running through buildings and everything's starting to fall apart. Then he enters back the real world. He's saying sorry to Pikachu, sorry to Verity and Sorrel. They're chatting in the woods, which First of all, I want to say Verity says another favorite line in the movie goes like, "Well, a world without Pokemon? That sounds awful."
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, like the world we live in now.
Right? Yeah, I loved that.
But this is where what Fanboy mentioned earlier, we get to a very infamous scene from this movie. Well, not the most infamous scene, which made its rounds fucking everywhere. Like, even people I know who stopped watching and playing Pokemon years ago, or don't give a damn about it, know about this scene. But there was another one I think doesn't get talked as much. We start learning more about Sorrel and why he wants to be a professor and such.
Oh my god, stop! I know where you're going with this.
It has to happen.
No.
Accept it. Embrace it. Let it make you stronger.
We had to watch it 5 times, or at least I had to watch it 5 times.
This has been brutal.
This is where we learned that Pokemon die.
This was just like...
In the realest
exactly, it was just a straight out like, guys, this freaking happens.
Pokemon
so we learned that... So we learned that Sorrel used to have a pet Luxray. It was always, everyone loved him. It was his best friend. But then one day Sorrel got lost out in the woods. And Fanboy, you pointed this out. Like, you think maybe he got hurt?
I think he was sledding and he banged his sled into a tree because he had a bruise on his face, and I believe he looked like he'd been out sledding in the snow and just passed out under the tree or blacked out under the tree, whatever the case may be. And in true Saint Bernard fashion, the Luxray went and found him, which in and of itself, when you don't know what's coming, is a super endearing scene for any Pokemon episode. You're like, yes, this is going to be a great moment. It makes you feel like, I love Pokemon. This is what the Pokemon love people. People love Pokemon. Everything's great.
This is why we watch it.
And then it
goes downhill.
Yes, the Luxray, which could have debatably picked up Sorrel and carried him off unless he was too injured, because decides to lay down next to Sorrel and keep him warm. But in turn, he did save Sorrel's life because rescue does come. But we later see that the Luxray froze to death.
Wait, that's so true. Why didn't he just pick him up and go somewhere with him? Somewhere warmer.
Because reasons.
Because Pokemon.
They literally pulled a Tauntaun.
Yeah.
Actually, someone pointed this out. Because that's what I kept saying. They pointed at a Tauntaun, but someone actually told me apparently there's this old kids movie about it involved a donkey with giant ears, and the mother tried to keep him warm, and the mother died the exact same way. Someone told me, it reminded me of that movie. I was like, God damn.
What are all children's movies?
Yeah, it's what the fuck is up with children's movies?
Well, because everybody poops and everybody dies, and children need to know that from a very early age.
Girls don't poop, but I don't know what you're talking about.
But what I love is, as Sorrel is telling the story, he goes for the longest time I was afraid to go anywhere near Pokemon. And it's well, in case you fucking kill anymore.
Oh my god.
And then but he goes, oh, but that changed when I met Lucario here.
I wanted to know what changed. Why? Why was it this Pokemon that changed it?
Because eventually you gotta get a new dog, and that's essentially what he did. I mean,
it reminded me of those guys or girls who are oh yeah, I had one bad relationship, so now I'm not gonna go towards anyone else. You know what I mean? That's what it reminded me of.
So, in the category of death in cartoons, Luxray was between, I'm gonna say like Seymour Asses from Futurama and Maze Hughes in Full Metal Alchemist. Kind of right in that realm of where you're like, this is horrifying. This is not something that really was... It was so unnecessary. It could have been done as... It could have run away. Instead, they're like, nah, dead. It's dead. It's fine. It was alive. Everything was great, and it's dead. And this kid had to deal with its death. And now all you children that are watching this movie have to also deal with death. So go home and talk to your parents about that, because that just happened.
And what I also love is just when you thought your heart couldn't get kicked in the dick enough, they decide the creators decided, you know what other famous scene we should pull from the series out of all the things that happened in the first season? Let's do Bye Bye Butterfree.
I have thoughts and I have words on that.
I love Pink Butterfree.
It was... I'll never forget this. It's the same forest scene where Marshadow kind of appears and everyone gets startled by it. Pikachu does a thunder shock, electrocutes all the trees, and all these primate fall out because, of course. And my God, I totally forgot to point this out. Way earlier on, it's one of the scenes that just made me facepalm. Was Ash and his friends encounter a pincer, and Ash sends out the Caterpie to, apparently because this Caterpie is a buff-ass Pokemon, uses String Shot on the pincer, and seismic tosses its ass onto the ground, then evolves into Metapod. The pincer's getting away, even Verity's going, Ash, it's getting away! Ash goes, that's okay,
fine.
This is all that matters. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I know that's how Pinsir looks, but there was something about the way they drew him that I don't know. I didn't like it, but I don't know why. There's just something about it that I didn't like. It seemed weird, but yeah, I agree with that whole thing. It was very, very weird. It's like you want to be the master Pokemon trainer, or Pokemon master, there we go, but you just let a Pokemon go. So how does that work?
He frequently let Pokemon go.
Yeah.
That's Ash's MO. Ash is a terrible... To be fair, if Ash already was one Pokemon more than everyone else has been in this entire movie, they could not give him 3 or 4 because that would have just completely broken all of the rules of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. Totally. It would have made the fight between him and Ho-Ho too easy.
Frankly, the fact that he was already at 3 is the reason why Butterfree had to go. Because the stronger Charmeleon was getting, the more they were like, whoa, Ash can't have this many Pokemon. We gotta get rid of this Butterfree.
Yeah, I understand why he, let him go. Obviously, he wanted him to be, happy, whatever. But it was you only have 3 Pokemon. What are you doing? But obviously, that is a very nostalgic scene, too. But it's just, you gave away one of your 3 Pokemon, dude.
It's around this point also, so going back to the present we were talking about. So the Primeape are chasing after Ash and his friends, and Ash decides to use Metapod to kind of FedEx, wrap up the Primeape, and which then kind of evolves the Metapod to Butterfree. Butterfree uses sleep power on the Primeape, they fall asleep, they escape. And then shortly after, I'll never forget this, because before the movie started, me and Fanboy are just sharing ideas oh, I hope we see this, I hope we see that, I hope we see this in the movie. And I remember him looking at me and goes, I really hope we don't see Bye Bye Butterfree, but I have a feeling they're going to do it. And the scene is regular, the Ash and his friends are walking the forest, and that's when we see the Fearow. That's why I mentioned Fearow earlier. Fearow appears then. He's attacking a pink Butterfree, and right next to me I hear, oh God!
Oh God,
yeah.
Oh God, it's happening!
And at that point, my childhood returned for the one time in this movie it was actually allowed to return.
It just seems like they put all of the emotional fuck clusters into one movie, just to, kill us.
That's essentially what this movie was.
Exactly.
It was a fuck cluster of only the sad parts of nostalgia, not all the happy good stuff. The happy good stuff was replaced with other weird, tragically sad stuff, but all of the already tragically sad stuff was left in. just to slap you in the face a few more times with a little more nostalgia and not the hey, look, it's the Squirtle Squad. They're cool. Hey, look, it's the I'm surprised, to be totally honest, I'm surprised Pidgeot didn't make an appearance just so that we could let that thing go at the end, too, when they were returning to Pallet Town. Bye, Pidgeot, we don't need you either, because I have a Charizard now. Bye.
Peace, guys. Peace out.
But instead we just got Butterfree.
It was kind of disappointing. We didn't even see Bulbasaur, no Squirtle, no any other Pokemon that Ash captured. Not even a fucking Krabby.
Just 3. That's all they needed.
So we have that scene, Bye Bye Butterfree. They're practically almost reenacting the episode where Ash is happy, goes, yeah, Butterfree, you found a mate! And then that's when Verity goes, Ash, you do realize that if he goes away, this means goodbye.
He's not coming back.
And then they have that emotional scene where Butterfree's like giving Ash a look, goes, come on, Ash. Don't deny me this pretty poontang. Come on.
Just wanted to get laid.
But at the same time, you could tell Butterfree wanted to stay with Ash because he had some tears in his compound eyes, and you could see it there.
Oh, I know.
And then he sent him away. He sent him away because that was what was best.
But luckily we have Verity.
It chokes me up a little bit every time.
But we had Verity to lighten up the mood, just going, they're gone.
Yeah, they stood there all night until the sun came up, and then she just goes, they're gone. Completely an unnecessary line that I feel like I did not watch the Japanese dub, but I feel like that was just that there was too long a pause there for American audiences to deal with, so they were like, throw a little dialogue in that scene. Her mouth isn't showing, we can throw in extra lines, which wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, it was just like, they're gone, and it's like, thanks for pointing out the obvious. Like, we see they're gone.
That's Verity's whole job. Verity's job is to point out the obvious, and Sorrel's job is to spread a little more exposition onto the Rainbow Hero's goal in life.
I just can't get over the fact that he was
really
the
it.
Rainbow Hero. The Rainbow Hero.
Well, he was the one, and, well, it's 2018. Men can be the Rainbow Hero.
Okay, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, don't get triggered. It's fine.
I'm so triggered. No, I'm just kidding.
That would explain so much, like why Ash wasn't like trying to go after Serena and everything.
Serena, Misty, Dawn.
Although
he's 10. Although he's 10, so
yeah, but this is Japan.
That might also be the reason.
What is
yeah, he's 10 in Japan. And 10 in Japan is in terms of anime logic is like being 89.
Oh my god.
At that point you've lived your life and you're already over the hill and you should be retiring.
Exactly. So finally we're reaching the climax of this movie, but there's still so much to talk about. So we're getting closer to the mountain where at this point whether they're in Johto or wherever the fuck it is, at that point I didn't care anymore. I'm like, this is a new map. This is a new region we don't know about for just this movie. We're getting closer, and that's where we meet this professor who we learned earlier in a book where that Sorrel had, that he was like one of the original people who was trying to learn more about Ho-Oh and the Rainbow Hero. He's trying to learn more about that prophecy, but he, I guess. Did it say like he disappeared or no one knew where he went?
I cannot for the life of me remember. I blacked out at this point.
Okay, so
I blacked most of this movie out. I remember
It was pretty bad.
I remember just enough about what happened, but after about the third time watching it, I feel like every scene just started falling out of my head as I rewatched it. It was like you can either remember math or you can remember this movie. And my brain decided on math.
Yeah, I'd rather not remember this
honestly,
movie.
I was more distracted by the fact that he sounded just like Dr. Robotnik from like the 4Kids Sonic X series. I swear that he did. If it's the same voice actor, I wouldn't be surprised. But it sounds just like Dr. Robotnik. It's like the whole time I just kept going. I just kept waiting for get me the Chaos Emeralds, Ash.
And if you haven't seen this movie, make sure that you see it and pause before he says anything, because a man will come on the screen and you'll know that he is the important character that knows about the legendary because his hair looks exactly like the legendary. And if there's anything we've learned about the Pokemon universe, it's that whenever an important character comes along, their hair is going to be important in some way, shape, or form. It's going to resemble a Pokemon, or it's going to be just the most interesting looking hair in the world. So you'll know when he comes on because you'll go, hey, that man has a Ho-Ho's ass on the back of his head.
And if you're an old school fan, whether you play the game, it's...
Koji, maybe?
Onji?
Not even Sora remembered his name, and he was the one who read the damn book.
His name was said once. His name was said once. Just his first name was said once by Verity in the middle of a battle when, like, a Pokemon attacks them, and she yells his name because it looks like he almost got hit or something. And that's the only reason I know he even has a name at this point.
Yeah, it actually is Dr. Eggman.
It is the same voice actor?
From the video games.
Of course it is.
The whole entire time I kept going like, well, it sounds like Dr. Robotnik. I know there's going to be some people who are going to probably maybe get pissed off by it. I know he's called Dr. Eggman, but I grew up watching like Sonic Set AM and all that. He was called Dr. Robotnik. I'm always going to keep calling him Dr. Robotnik.
Dr. Gerald? The fuck?
Gerald!
Wow! Cross the
Wow!
line. His name is Gerald.
Wow! No way.
And he thought Eggman was better?
Yeah. I mean, at least if his name was like, I don't know, Egbert Robotnik, I would have been like, oh, I get why they call him Eggman. Like, but Gerald? Hey, look. It's Jerry Robotnik over here.
Oh, that's nothing. Yes. Well, again, I'm looking at the voice cast. So the voice of the guy who does James, who also does Meow. Also, Weasel Underwood from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yeah. I've known that, yeah. You can, of course it is.
And Hobson.
Oh, Hobson! Hobson's sad!
So they what was his name was Koji? Was it?
Yeah.
We said Koji. Okay, so Ash and his friends, they meet Koji. Another thing I want to point about Koji is I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but his clothes look very similar to Red's outfit
from the original game. Like the original game, he had the leaf on his head, on his hat is like a pin on the side of his hat. He was wearing all red. He also looked like he was like he was dressed like a 70-year-old man who was trying to be a skater kid. He had shorts on and sneakers and a backpack and a short sleeve shirt and a baseball cap. So he clearly was like supposed to be. I when I first saw him before he said anything, I was like, shit, is that like supposed to be the concept of Red standing on Mount Silver just hanging out waiting for a challenger? And they were like, no, it's the guy who wrote the book about the Rainbow Hero. And I was like, damn, what a wasted story arc that would have been. That would have been so much better if we actually got to see Red. Yeah, just as a little throwaway.
Picture, is this the guy with the beard?
Yeah, like this crazy
So he
beard.
looks like a guy who lives in a van down by the river.
Mm-hmm. He does.
He looks like a tinfoil conspirator, like the people who wear tinfoils on their hats. That's what I thought of.
He looks like the man who gives Ash a fishing rod every time Ash says, hey, I want to go fishing. And then a guy randomly pops up and goes, okay, kids, here are some fishing rods. He looks like that guy that always appears just as a what do they call it, a MacGuffin? He's just there to be like, yeah, you need this thing? I got this thing. There we go. Problem solved. That's this guy. He is exactly that stock style of anime character.
He was just kind of
and even
like
his role in this was being that guy.
So after we meet Koji, and that's where we finally get to the top of this mountain. That's because the entire time Ash and his friends are following the rainbow, because of course, and that's where they get to the crystal. And the prophecy is the rainbow hero has to put the rainbow wing on top of this crystal, and that will summon Ho-Oh for battling.
Ho-Oh.
But that's where our favorite knockoff Gary / Paul.
Hang on a second. Hang on. Continue.
So as I was saying, that's where our favorite like Gary Oak / Paul knockoff Cross decides to show up, and he wants to steal the rainbow wing from Ash. He goes like, I'm the one who's gonna fight Ho-Oh. And you get the whole speech where Ash is saying like, so why are you doing this? He goes, the friendship is stupid, and they're weak, and it's pathetic, and only the strong will survive. Might makes right. It's that whole cheesy shit. Ash summons Charmeleon, and it's round 2 with his fucking Incineroar. And of course, Charizard evolves after nearly getting obliterated by this fire, but he gets engulfed, he turns to Charizard. It's an epic scene. I still think it's one of the best fight scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, it was really good.
And then that's when we learn from Cross. He goes like, I saw Ho-Oh too. Well, like, yeah, Ash has beat Cross at this point, but what makes me laugh is because at this point, me and Fanboy are pointing this out. Like, Cross falls down the floor, but his Lycanroc is still right next to him. Never is in the Pokeball, and we're just like, you still have Lycanroc.
Yes.
Why does he use it? Like, oh, it's just, I just look at it like, I guess it's just so he can look cool. That's his only reason.
Very true, very true. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what is going on here? Very weird. Not how that works.
And then he's like, Ho-Oh was, I saw Ho, but he didn't give me the rainbow wing. Why did he choose you? And then you get the cheesy, like, I want to fight because I want to make friends. It's Pokemon, standard bull friendship bull crap, getting the elements of harmony and all that. Then Cross has to be a dick, steals the rainbow wing, and then he puts on the crystal, and that's when things go to hell and everything turns black, which then the Koji goes that if a heart of darkness touches the wing, it will infect the crystal. And Fanboy, you immediately pointed out, it's like, wait, hold on a minute. Like, he's pure evil?
Yeah, 12-year-old kid was apparently the most evil person in the world, according to this series, which is kind of a terrible lesson for children, to be like, yeah, you can either be good or you can be
pure evil.
Satan, I guess. The most evil, the thing that will destroy the world is apparently a 12-year-old kid who's angry that he didn't get a feather.
They might have just meant that he had, like, an evil heart. That's how I took it. Like, he just, deep down in his soul, had an evil heart. But, like, how does a 12-year-old have an evil heart? They're 12. Like, how does that work?
See, yeah, I thought it would have made more sense.
Part of me thinks that that's bad dubbing, that it was meant to be... True. It was meant to be maybe just Heart of Darkness or something like that, and they were like, Evil Heart sounds better. Mm-hmm. And you're like, Evil Heart sounds way more serious than, like, Heart of Darkness or Dark Heart, or... You can go, oh, that's a misunderstood kid. But being like, nah, that kid's evil. It's a straight up prick.
That's where I thought they were gonna bring.
And then he's not even. But he's not even evil. He's not even, because he helps. He helps at the end.
But they could have.
So they're like, the whole time they're calling him the Heart of Evil, and then he's like, I'm gonna help you guys. And even to his own Lycanroc. But even to his own Lycanroc, it bites him on the arm, and he goes, "You bit me the first time we met too," meaning that he still was like a good kid. So he wasn't evil. He was just kind of a
They
dick.
could have brought in, like, rocket power at that point, which they're kind of sissies, but they could have brought him in at that point and made them seem like the evil ones, but no, they chose the 12-year-old kid who...
That's what I was saying. It's like Team Rocket I would have suspected more as being evil and fucking up, but no, we have to have Cross, who was like...
Yes, I thought it was very weird. I was expecting Team Rocket to come out and... grab and put it up on, and then they try to catch the Ho-Oh.
Right,
and they were like, yes, we can find... And then, no, that wasn't... Again, another wasted...
opportunity.
Squandered opportunity that this movie didn't take to make important characters important, and instead to give it to a side character that we're never going to see.
Right, it's more nostalgic to go with rocket power and having them try to steal them and then fuck it all up like they always do. But that would be way more Pokemon than to give it to some 12-year-old.
Are we purposely calling them Rocket Power for a reason?
Oh my... Because
Because they skateboard and...
Because it's me.
And drink shakes at the Shore Shack?
No, oh, God.
Was it called the Shore Shack?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so...
Rick, look that up. It was called the Shore Shack, right?
What? Man, instead of Koji, could we have Tito instead? Just showing up and giving everyone the advice.
Tito was the only good part of Rocket Power.
Wait, what are...
It's like, how do we find Ho? The ancient Hawaiians say.
What is their thing?
Team Rocket.
Oh. Whoops.
Rocket Power.
Or if you are
I thought
in
you
Japan,
were purposely going for something.
No,
I thought you were like referencing something else.
But if you're in Japan, they are known as the Rocket Gang.
There
so
you
it really
go.
just depends on. It just depends on your.
So the feather turns evil, and Marshadow that's when Marshadow decides, like, he's, I guess, trying to heal the feather, but at the same time he's, like, engulfed by this power, and now he's kind of coming corrupted by it. And now everyone has, and now the Ash has to get the feather back so he can heal it, and that's when shit gets real. Marshadow takes over a bunch of Pokemon, and we're seeing, like, an epic battle royale where everyone's using their one and only Pokemon. Like, I'm surprised. Actually, I was gonna say I'm surprised Verity didn't try to summon her Lapras on the platform,
Just so we could sit on the ground doing nothing except for maybe shooting ice beams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although, in the Pokemon universe, they float when they're water Pokemon and they're not near water. So
I was gonna say, because I've seen. Well, I remember Ash using a Lapras in the Orange Islands where it was in the stadium. Wasn't there no water for Lapras, or was it on dry land, or am I?
But again, the first time Misty calls out a Pokemon against Team Rocket, it's a Goldeen, and it splashes around on the ground, and she has to call it back. So, Pokemon logic?
Yeah, but you could have still had Lapras, like, say, use an Ice Beam to build a barrier to stop the evil Pokemon from trying to get to Ash.
Because it was important that only Verity's one Pokemon got shown, because, Generation 4 confirmed?
Did we mention what her Pokemon was?
I don't think so.
It was a Piplup.
Which is so cute.
Yeah, her Piplup.
It's the most adorable thing in the world.
It was essentially just Dawn's Piplup in every way, shape, or form, except a new Hydro Pump. I don't think hers ever knew Hydro Pump. But otherwise, it was essentially just Dawn's Piplup again.
Yeah. So, and then Ash and Pikachu, they're doing that whole running up the hit mountain. They get to Marshadow, and they're having a pretty epic battle. We even see Marshadow using his Z move, which I thought was pretty awesome. Yeah. But Ash and Pikachu are quickly losing because Marshadow has taken over a bunch of Pokemon which are now evil, and they are just blasting Ash and Pikachu like one after another. And then that's when Ash is recreating that scene exactly with the spirit, saying, "Pikachu, get in the Pokeball, you'll be safe." And he's doing and he does the exact same speech from the beginning.
Yes!
I'm Ash from Pallet Town, and I'm gonna capture you all. Mess with me, and you'll. And I'm just like, Christ in heaven.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that too. I was like, why are you exactly repeating everything you said in the beginning? It's like,
because repetition sells movies to children.
Sex
he was
sold.
Still the same. He was not to children.
Oh, yeah, true.
Don't try to sell sex to children.
I hate myself. No, I'm just kidding.
Where did the sex come from?
I was joking. He said, never mind. Okay, go ahead.
The idea that he was the same perfectly rambunctious child and he was willing to do anything to protect his Pikachu, even be a cocky, arrogant little jerk, that even though he changed and he just wanted to protect his Pikachu, and if that meant catching Marshadow and a Nidoking, a Nidoqueen, and Golem, and what else was there?
There was a
Magnum.
Wasn't Pidgeot there?
Magnum.
Was there an Was there an Absol there?
I'm trying to remember.
There.
Like,
Yeah.
there was so much happening. There was so much happening. I was like, what the fuck even? But now we're getting to the really famous scene of all.
Here we go.
After Ash and Pikachu have been like practically freaking like shot by everything, by every hyper beam. Ash turns to Pikachu, is like, "Pikachu, why will you not get in the Pokeball?" And that's when we have Pikachu talking.
Okay, before you guys say anything, it's fucking adorable. But go ahead.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
yes,
it's not.
it is.
It was traumatizing. It was completely uncalled for. And it didn't make any sense.
Can we get into the conspiracy theories of why he was talking?
See, here's my theory: is after getting Ash at this point, he's 10 years old, and at this point he's already experienced a ton of trauma for a little kid. So my theory is, after you get hit by literally pure beams of energy from multiple Pokemon, this is like maybe like the second blast or third blast by these Pokemon. he had enough trauma to the head where he imagined
Yes.
Pikachu was talking to him.
Yes, that's
my theory.
one of the theories, and that's I agree with that one too. I agree that Ash was fainting, and it was just kind of like a thing that happened from his subconscious, whatever. There are also, from what I saw, 2 other theories. So, one of the theories is just to prove that Ash can understand Pikachu, and that Pikachu is capable of complex thoughts. And the third one is kind of out there, but because Raichu has psychic powers, it manifested early in Pikachu. Those are the other theories, but I agree with the first one that Deech said.
But think when that it was just to sell the idea that Ash and Pikachu are connected.
No, it's never that. It's a conspiracy theory.
It didn't mean anything.
Would it helped if Pikachu was voiced by Danny DeVito?
It would not help if Pikachu was voiced by anybody. Who voiced Pikachu? In that horrifying line.
It was not horrifying. It was adorable.
I'm gonna say if they do that again in the next movie,
are you gonna throw a table?
I'm gonna give up on Pokemon movies. I can't deal with talking Pikachu in every movie.
It was adorable.
I want to see the sequel, but if Pikachu talks again in the second
Pikachu?
one, no. Detective Pikachu honestly is the stupidest seeming game, and I have played several mystery dungeon games where Pokemon talk in that. But the idea that he talks like a noir detective and not even like a Pikachu, but like an angry 40-year-old man.
See, that was funny.
Horrifying.
I remember when Detective Pikachu was first announced. So many people kept saying Danny DeVito should voice this Pikachu, and there was like so many videos editing with his voice in the character.
Detective Pikachu is going to be adorable, and Fanboy, you just broke my heart. Just want to put that out there. My heart is now broken, but whatever.
Okay,
well,
the voice of the Pikachu was Kate Bristol, who's also been in Fruit Basket, DBZ, On High, Shrek Witches, Attack on Titan, Pokemon X and Y. Also, the Pokemon movie from 2014, Dionysus and Cocoon of Destruction.
Who did she voice?
She was in who did she voice in Attack on Titan?
Just as a general.
Oh, that helps.
She's Pan in DBZ.
Oh. Okay. Oh, really? Wait, okay, no, never mind. But another thing I point out, it's like it follows right after the Pikachu talking moment. Ash quickly puts Pikachu in his Pokeball, which is the only time I can think of.
Pokemon X and Y.
Oh, good.
Choose who?
So that's helpful.
Nurse Joy, Jessica, Princess Ellie.
Oh, I love Nurse Joy.
Raleigh.
Huh. So she's just a stock Pokemon actress that they got to do this extra line.
Hey, it's still better than that guy who just
Sorrel being a nobody.
Yeah.
Well, this was his breakthrough role, and I'm sure he made tens of children happy.
Tens of thousands of children. Thank you very much.
No, tens of children.
I'm one of the 10.
I guarantee it's a small number. It was a very small number.
I think it was
if anything,
adorable.
There were people there wishing they had Brock.
Yeah, Brock, Misty.
Well, yeah, okay, Misty.
May, Dawn, Max, Tracy.
Clementine.
Clement.
That's gives me. Yeah, thank you.
Bonnie. Silent. Am I missing anybody? I think it's everybody.
Yeah, I believe. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But yeah, so shortly,
Iris.
but yet, oh fuck that girl.
I knew I was missing one.
I think there's I know why I didn't remember her.
She was Verity was Iris Light.
Yeah, I can agree with that, especially when she was like making fun of Ash about her mommy
kind of
issues.
Snooty. Yeah, she was kind of uppity. She was kind of a bitch. But at the end, you're like, oh, you're just running away from your problems like every other child would. Oh, okay, I can understand that, I guess.
Are we allowed to call a 10-year-old a bitch? Is that something we can do? Okay.
When they're fictional characters, yes.
Okay. Good to know.
I think when they're Japanese characters, yes.
Okay.
She was a bitch.
This is a movie that's saying this possible 12-year-old is pure evil.
True.
So why not? But yeah, this is the scene that made me, like, first my jaw dropped, and then I just had to laugh. Ash, not only does Ash die in this movie, just like he's died multiple times in the series, he gets digitized. Like, you know when you see a Digimon die and it's like its pixels are floating away? That's what's essentially happening to Ash. He got obliterated.
Okay, so that whole part just pissed me off. It's more about the next part, but that part was just so annoying. But when we go into the next part, I'll talk about that.
And the creators, the writers, are trying to have another tearjerker moment because at this point, I would believe the writers are Satanists.
Yes.
Because like they're just trying to make us feel crappy. It's like this Luxray, fuck him. You like Butterfree? Well, here's a scene from your childhood. Oh, you like Ash? Guess what? He's dead.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have Pikachu cry.
But he didn't just die. He died. He died like Goku. Like Yamcha in Dragon Ball Z. Obliterated by pretty much anything and everything until he was vaporized.
There had to been like 10 Pokemon just staring
gone.
right at him, using all of their power that was there, and just...
Except that hat. That hat, man.
What hat, man?
That hat. That hat survived.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that hat is made of, but I want a bunker made of that hat when the apocalypse comes. Because the only two things that survived was that hat and Pikachu's Pokeball.
Yeah.
Every item of clothing he owned, the other Pokeball that was in his bag, his backpack, everything. Except Pikachu's Pokeball and that hat.
Yes.
But of course, this is a children's anime, and we gotta have a happy ending. It's at this point, like, almost like 2-3 minutes into this, as Pikachu is crying into Ash's hat, is when we start seeing
which was the only sad moment. I would have rather just jump right to the crying Pikachu and skip over talking Pikachu, because crying Pikachu was a tearjerker moment.
It was horrible.
Talking Pikachu was...
No, that scene is a lot more emotional.
Just an abomination.
Agreed. Agree about the whole it being sad thing, but they should have kept the talking part in there, because it was adorable.
No.
But one thing I want to point out was when we start seeing this spiral of light and Pikachu, it can hear Ash's voice, because apparently Ash didn't just die. He got like shot to the Shadow Realm, that same realm that he went to, that Marshall may have brought him to or took him out of because he made the Rainbow Wing black, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was the Pokemon's own version of Purgatory.
This part makes no fucking sense, but go ahead.
So, and you know, Pikachu's happy. He jumps through the light to meet up with Ash. And my very first thought is, this is like Doctor Who.
Yes.
When Clara jumped into the Doctor's timeline. I'm just like, because the Doctor's like the Doctor dies, and then you see his timeline. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is Doctor Who. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
I thought, and I turned to you, Deej, and I said, is this the part where they end up back on the ground in front of the Ho-Oh when the Ho-Oh is flying overhead, and this is when the actual anime starts? Like, this was all like they end up in this is some parallel reality, and Ash and Pikachu just died, and then they wake up on the ground and the Ho is flying over and Misty's chasing after them with a burned bike, and I'm like, oh, this is where this fits into the timeline. I kind of get that, but
yeah,
no,
it was another missed opportunity.
Instead,
definitely.
I thought that would have been nice. I thought that would have been kind of cool to say, like, this whole journey was. The idea of being the rainbow hero was like some alternate. It would explain this idea of this weird alternate reality, and Ash would get a chance to be like a better trainer this time. arguably a better trainer this time around, but no.
No.
Instead,
So
he just comes back.
Yeah, so Ash gets the rainbow wing. Everyone's happy. He summons Ho-Oh, and Ho-Oh, luckily Ho-Oh is kind enough to heal everyone. Otherwise, because
No, only the Pokemon. If you look, the Pokemon all got healed. The trainers all still look like shit.
Well, maybe it's just their clothes didn't heal.
But let's explain how...
No, they were all still dirty. All the Pokemon were clean again and nice looking, and all the trainers still were all punched up and dirty and
Did we explain how
beat
Ash
up.
came back to life? Did we touch on that yet?
Yeah.
It was Pikachu jumped through the timeline, and then somehow they materialized.
They just materialized from the rainbow vortex that appeared.
This part I hated so much because I was just like, what the actual fuck? So I guess they have a fucking feather that can just bring you back to life. Like, oh, you fucked up, you're dead. And now a fucking feather just brings you back to fucking life. Guys, that's how the world works.
But Ho-Oh, that's Ho-Oh's power, though. Ho-Oh brought back, and Sorrel tells the story of how there was the burnt tower.
In the movie, he mentions...
He revived the three legendary dogs.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Exactly.
Ho-Oh's power is revival. He's a phoenix. His whole thing is that he revives people.
Yeah, but it's still fucking feather. Like, if he did the reviving, if, like, Ho-Ho did it...
But that mountain is his mountain. His whole goal is to protect the Rainbow Hero, so you can't let the Rainbow Hero die.
But, like,
so Ash got to come back.
It was still just the feather, though.
It's not the first time Ash came back. Pikachu's tears brought Ash back in the first movie.
Okay, yeah, you're fucking right.
It was the combined tear.
He cried on his stone face.
I forgot about that.
Came back to life.
So he just comes back to life.
Which brings me to the question. Now, which brought me the question. I asked Fanboy this the first time. Like, how many times has Ash died in this? Because at this point I feel like Ash dying is becoming a cliche almost.
I saw a YouTube video that was about like the 5 top deaths, so it's more than 5 or 5. It's 5 or more.
He dies. He also gets sometimes sent to an alternate reality. So I know that there is a multiverse even before the Pokemon games decided to split off into 2 different, possibly 3 different timelines that we're running currently. Ash ended up in the Mirror Universe in X and Y. Ash has died in movies, I believe, at least twice.
7 times?
7?
7 times?
That seems like a little much.
I have the list up of when he dies.
Oh,
wow.
Please.
I know that he dies when he what did he fall in the... He fell down when he was going to get Haunter, and Haunter pulls him out of his body, so I know that's one of them.
I thought the chandelier fell on them.
Yeah, or whatever, and he dies, and then Haunter pulls him out of his body, and they float around.
I only remember those 2 times, but...
And then I remember him turning to stone. When else does he die?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
The power of Run, he was on Lugia's back, crashes into the icy waters, which would have killed him. So that's
a hypothetical death, though. That's a hypothetical.
So, but if he still lives, that doesn't count.
Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, along with... He was eaten by a blob designed to fight off humans.
Did he actually disintegrate from the blob? Oh, well, there we go. That counts.
And later revived by Mew.
Oh, good. Okay,
This
so
was
and
Lucario and the Legend of Mew?
Lucario and the Mystery of Mew.
All right. When's the next one?
I actually remember that one. I actually remember that movie.
Crushed by the force of psychic confusion in the Vicini movies.
That's what happened to me during this movie, though.
And again, in those movies, he gets knocked out and most likely gets killed by a combination of asphyxiation and freezing.
Well, that's hypothetical, so we're going to have to count that one out. So we're at 5.
It's 5. So, and then the other one is I Choose You.
Okay, so we got I Choose You. We've got the Haunter pulling him out of his body. We've got the Victini movie.
We got the Lucario movie.
And we have Ash and Mewtwo. So yeah, we're at 5. We're at 5 deaths. It's impressive.
He a normal 10-year-old kid.
Shouldn't die that many times.
He's been so. I'm just saying, like, how much trauma he must be. Like, when I just imagine when he gets older, he's gonna need therapy.
A little bit, just a little bit, not a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
So, okay, so yeah, they summon Ho-Oh. Ash immediately goes to Ho-Oh, going like, "I want to fight you," and they immediately start battling. Ho like just nods his head in agreement, and then immediately Ho-Oh, like Pikachu, like tries to use Thunder Shock, does nothing. Ho-Oh just fires this giant blast of heat, which should have incinerated Pikachu. Yeah. And we know at this point, like, Pokemon can die, so this Ho-Oh just almost killed Pikachu.
And then they freaking... The part that pisses me off is they panned out.
Yeah, they cut down to them going to the Pokemon Center and him giving Nurse Joy his wounded Pikachu, who's smiley and fine, so obviously not that hurt. And Ash is still dirty. And she goes, "Oh, you must have had some, battle." And he's like, "Yeah, I fought
make a joke about it.
And she's like, "That's cool." And then she just takes his Pokemon away. And you're like, dude, you almost got killed by an Entei like 10 minutes into the movie. But now you just had like an 8-hour battle with Ho-Oh that apparently must have ended in a draw because you're not dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just glazed over that like it wasn't important.
Yeah, it's more about that skipping all around. It's like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, the epic battle that would have been a nice scene to see, they completely ignored.
And we're pretty much about to wrap up for at least talking about this movie. We're getting, Cross, Ash, and everyone, they have like one final talk, and Cross goes, "Hey, just, I'll beat you one day. Just make sure you don't get beaten before then. Smell you later."
We never saw him again.
Shocker.
I'm assuming.
And the one last final reference, they do that, I guess you can say famous or iconic scene where they have the 3 crossroads where Ash and Verity and Sorrel are about to go their own separate paths. Verity is going back to see her mom. Sorrel's about to do his journey. Ash is about to go on his own journey. Pretty much you can wrap up the movie there. Team Rocket starts following. It looks
exactly the same as the crossroads that Ash, Misty, and Brock were on, but without Ash, Misty, and Brock. So just to once again kind of play on that little nostalgia, but ruin it, they did the exact same thing.
With characters we don't care about.
With characters we don't give a flying fuck about.
Nope.
And during it's at this point, however, if you did want to see Brock, Misty, or any of Ash's other friends, they're in this movie, but they do it in such a weird way. The whole entire time in this movie, as you're watching the credits, first you see the silhouettes of the characters, and then it clears up to their normal colored selves. But it's always like from behind them, and they turn around, and they're not smiling at the camera. They just look confused, like almost like, "Oh shit, we're in this movie."
Like, "Oh, there's a camera. We should probably do something."
Or certain characters.
That's the whole cameo.
That's all she wrote.
That's it. That is it.
Which was infuriating because it lists them on Bulbapedia as cameoing in the credits. And by cameoing in the credits, I thought like a cameo in the credits, not just like, a 2-second little drawn thing of them staring at the camera while some version of some Pokemon song plays.
I think one of the things they could have done better with this movie, honestly, was to help with the time and pacing issues. They could have given us another somewhat montage, but at the same time use another movie, or not movie, a song that we love. I would have loved to hear Viridian City playing during one of those montages. Ash maybe captures more Pokemon, or we see other characters, other certain small things. Give us a better sense of where the hell we are.
Do you think we should talk about the trailer for the sequel?
Yes, this movie that I'm willing to give it a chance even after watching this one. I definitely know my friend who I mentioned at the beginning of this. She refuses to see this sequel. But I already have high hopes for this new one. One of the big differences is the art and animation is going to be majorly different. It already looks way different. Ash is drawn differently. At first, I thought his eyes looked maybe a little too wide-spaced. But it's just a scene where it's Ash and Pikachu. They're like on grass. Wind starts blowing, and that's where we meet this new girl with this rainbow-colored hair, and we hear what sounds like it's a brief note. It sounds just like the flute music from Pokemon Movie 2000, which was used to it was used for Lugia.
Yeah, the rumors are is that that's the Lugia melody, which would make sense if we got Ho-Oh, who's very iconic to the first season, and we've already seen the legendary dogs in Ho-Oh. It would make sense if they now showed us Lugia and the 3 legendary birds from the second movie, because that's a nice way to parallel and continue through the generations, especially with Pokemon Crystal dropping for the Virtual Console and Gold and Silver dropping for the Virtual Console.
I thought her hair was really pretty.
And it's interesting. It was a very short clip, but I do think it's an interesting setup. But it's, again, incorporating another character that I don't know whether we're going to have any attachment to, which I still feel like we're missing a mark on that, because it would have been fine if they just continued bringing in the original characters. I would have had no problem reliving slightly modified stories with the original characters. But again, it sounds like we're going to get a whole different story with a whole different character, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about that. I'm going to have to wait to see a few more trailers before I decide what the point is. I know that I will see it in theaters. I know I will see it no matter what, but I know I will see it in theaters if they are doing another Pokemon card giveaway, because I love collecting Pokemon cards.
We should all go together to see that. Just saying.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah. I have 20 Ash Hat I Choose You Pikachu cards.
Oh yeah, when we went to see the movie, it was one of the last nights that the movie was playing, at least in our general area. And since it was the last time that theater was playing the movie, we went up to the girl. We were like, so it's like, do you have any more cards left? She goes, oh yeah, I think this is the last night. You guys want them all? And me and Fanboy, we just like left with a stack of these damn cards.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was like, how many do you want? Like, how many are you willing to give us?
Wish that happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh movie we went to.
Yeah, instead we only got that one.
Oh,
which is
we all
fine.
have to see. We all have to see the new movie together, because like on the first time seeing it in theaters with Fanboy, it was honestly one of the most fun I ever had in a theater. Just all of us grown-up adults watching Pokemon, singing along to the theme song, and all reacting to the exact same stuff. Like with
and then the second time. But when you go back, and it becomes the saddest thing, because you realize you're a full-grown adult critiquing a children's movie because it doesn't meet up to the standards that you have from 1997.
Well,
yeah, but you know what? Here's my defense against that. This movie obviously was. I feel like it was meant to mostly. It was mostly aimed towards us. This was mostly aimed toward generation for us, the people who grew up with Pokemon from the beginning, as well as like introducing kids to the older generation. So I feel like we kind of have a little more leeway, like saying, this is kind of. I mean, yeah, you had some good moments hitting my childhood, but other times it's like, what the hell were you doing?
See, I'm looking at it the exact opposite. I see it as there are a lot of children who are never going to see the original shows. They're never going to go back and watch the first season of Pokemon and experience Misty and Brock. So when they get thrown into the anime like they did in Sun and Moon, it's really kind of random to them. You get a few. That's why they have to throw in flashbacks of them traveling together that are all reanimated to make sense. So they show little clips. Oh, look, there's a Squirtle, and because you have to give Ash a past, and they can't pretend that his past didn't exist. But I feel like this movie is a nice way of saying to kids, hey, Ash has been doing a lot more adventuring than just the one season that you kids that are just beginning to watch Pokemon see it now. So if you go in there feeling like this is a Pokemon movie, enjoy it because there's Pokemon and there's battling and there's legendaries and there's all the stuff that Pokemon's going to have every week when you watch the show, fine. If you really went in there expecting it to be a nostalgic movie like they tried to pitch it, you're going to be disappointed. And by the second time I saw it, I that's when I clearly realized they pretended it was a nostalgic movie, and I feel like that was to get more people to come, when really it's just another non-canonical Pokemon movie.
Yeah, when the charm leaves, it's just gone. Especially if you take off those rose-colored glasses.
Ash could have met Ho-Oh in Alola with the Alolan kids going on the same journey to a different island away from Alola by riding the Lapras across the ocean, going to an island. The island has the mountain. They climb up the mountain. He fights the Ho-Oh. And it would have had the exact same impact as a movie as pretending that it's a nostalgic movie and feeling like you need to throw in Bye Bye Butterfree and Charizard. They could have written all of that out and just made another exact Pokemon movie like they've been doing for the previous 19 movies, and it still would have felt like exactly the same story, but without the slap in the face fake nostalgia that I feel like it gave us.
Yeah, it was just a clusterfuck of clusterfuckness.
I think, like, if this was supposed to be a retelling of it, I wish they would have done things a little bit differently. It's like, why not have Ash capture even different Pokemon that he never caught in, like, even the first 2 seasons or something like that. I would have loved to see something a little bit different.
I'm sure he'll have, because now that they're going in a whole different direction, I'm sure by the next movie he'll have more Pokemon, just whatever they feel like is important to the story at that point, because now they're creating not just a retelling of his first few days in Kanto, but a whole new universe, a parallel version of Ash. So I'm sure we will get parallel Pokemon partners based on the new games that'll drop for the Switch, or whatever other things they decide to add that people want to see. If there's Pokemon in Alola that they know Alola Sun and Moon Ash aren't going to get, they may go, hey, we want to promote, this Pokemon that people are really liking in Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Moon, and they'll say, well, let's give this to this second version of Ash. Things like that, and I'm sure they'll do that. But now it's going to be the second movie will not be, in my mind, any kind of shot-for-shot, quote-unquote, retelling. It's just going to be a new story that happens to involve.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, I could be wrong, but I actually decided to look up the team that was working on the new Pokemon movie based on a new trailer, and I believe it's the same people who worked on Attack on Titan. If I remember hearing someone. No,
we don't talk about those.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
If you ever looked at my Facebook, I commented every 5 seconds about the Attack on Titan movie. So much of it did not make sense. Like I swear to God, I'm feeling a little tightness in my chest, like from anger. I'm actually feeling anger. That movie angered me more than the Death Note movie.
Wait, no spoilers, guys.
You need to riff it.
Oh, which one? Death Note or Attack on Titan?
Honestly, I haven't seen Attack on Titan, but I'll watch it. But no spoilers for Death Note, because I'm on episode like 20 right now. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I won't spoil it. But my God, the Attack on Titan, it just made me so angry.
Oh my God, now I have to watch it. I want to see why it angers you so much.
I was so angry.
This is like a whole new voice you have right now, so it must make you very angry.
You have no idea how, like, they one of my favorite characters, fictional characters of all time. If I made a list of favorite fictional characters, one of them is Mikasa. Mikasa is honestly one of my favorite characters in fiction, whether it's anime, cartoon, whatever. And the guy who made this movie decided, hey, you like this character? Let me completely buttfuck and ruin this character and change her.
Uh-oh.
And make her 2 characters.
I'll give you one example. You know how Mikasa is like really dependent on Eren, or like she always has to be by his side, and if anything happens to him, by whatever, God forbid, she will like go on like a endless strike to try and save him or whatever. Like she will risk her life to save Eren. Does not matter what it is.
Is she kind of like the Rose of Star Wars?
Well, she's actually playing 2 characters. She's Mikasa, and she actually.
Okay. This sounds very confusing.
Oh, no, I thought the other guy... No, they took... That, you know what? This is turning into something else that I will try... If we're going to talk about Attack on Titan movie and why they butt-fucked one of my favorite characters of all time, I will save it.
Whoa,
my God,
it's
that angered me.
That butt-fucking is allowed. Let's just... Whoa. I'm kidding. That was supposed to be funny, but like really wasn't.
No, this was horrifying. No, you remember the South Park episode where they went to go see Indiana Jones and they're watching the directors rape Indy? That was me watching Attack on Titan. I'm like, why are they doing this?
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Oh, I pray for your soul.
Oh dear Lord.
But yeah, no, so...
Back to Pokemon.
This new Pokemon movie. Yes, let's go back to the happier Pokemon movie?
Not really.
Well, yeah, no, not really. So, my final thoughts about the movie. You know, if you're looking for just a pure nostalgia run, you might be slightly disappointed. But if you really love Pokemon, if you grew up like I did with the original, you might get some enjoyment out of this. There were some good things about this movie. I don't think it's one of the worst movies ever. It's definitely not one of the best Pokemon movies ever. Honestly, though, if you wanted like a pure nostalgic run of like watching Pokemon, I would honestly recommend Pokemon Origins. Someone took all parts, combined it to one movie on YouTube, and I think it's actually shorter than this movie.
This clusterfuck of a movie.
And that, oddly enough, had better pacing, even though it was just 4 small shorts on YouTube.
That's kind of sad.
The team behind Pokemon, they can do it. It's just for some reason with this movie, a bunch of jackasses had it.
They missed the mark.
That's one way to put it.
A nice way.
So, like, if I had to review this, if I had to score this movie, I would honestly give it like a 5 out of 10. It was just it was average.
I wouldn't even be that nice about it.
Stuff. That's what's funny was when I gave it an 8 out of 10, then I even lowered it to 6. My friend looked at me and went, "You are too nice."
There were some good aspects to it, but I would still give it like a 2 or a 3 out of 10, just because I feel like the whole main premise of it, which was like Marshadow or whatever his name is, like
Marshadow and the Rainbow Hero.
Yeah, well, the Rainbow Hero was okay, but like the Marshadow part of it just really confused me. Like with the little cutscenes where it was like he went to school. Like I had to rewatch it a few times just to like, is this like what I'm looking at? Is this what I'm thinking? Like, is this like just to make sure that I was understanding it fully, which leads me to believe maybe a 10-year-old, I hope I'm a little smarter than a 10-year-old, would get just as confused or even more confused by those. So I wasn't impressed. I was not impressed.
I'm going to give it 5 out of 10 Goldbergs.
All right, and so I can't wait for all of us to actually go see this next Pokemon movie. Like, I really hope it's good. I imagine we'll get some enjoyment out of it, and I really hope that the creative team actually took notes and they're like, okay, we know this, we have established this universe, so now we know what we're going to do, unless they're going to rechange the universe again. But I highly kind of doubt it, but it is Pokemon, and the movies aren't exactly canon with the series, like you pointed out, Fanboys. So it's up in the air at this point for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be better than this one. Hopefully.
Yeah, at least we can hope for really sweet-ass Pikachu cards.
We got a year to decide. Yeah, at least, hopefully, or whatever new Pokemon they decide to give us. Although Ash Hat Pikachu is now officially canon, and so is Marshadow, thanks to the newest episodes of Pokemon Sun and Moon. So this Pokemon movie did give us something. It gave us an all-new Z-move in canon for both the games and the actual canon anime.
Oh yeah, if you had pre-ordered Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon, if you went to GameStop, they gave you a giant-ass poster of the Alola region, as well as new Pikachu cards, and a bunch of them were hat Pikachus. They were different Pikachus from like with different Ash hats.
Oh.
Yeah, and in the anime, Ash's hat blows off, ends up on Pikachu, and Pikachu uses 10 million gigavolt Thundershock or Thunderbolt?
I believe
so. So it is officially canon now that Ash Hat Pikachu is a thing in the anime.
Well, I have nothing else to say about the trailer or even the movie. Do you guys?
No, I think
we said it all.
I need to go. I need to go drink and forget this entire thing ever happened.
Well, hopefully this is the last time we'll have to talk about this movie, unless for some reason the new movie turns out to be worse than this one. I pray for our souls at that point. But yeah, we'll just wrap this up. If you guys enjoy this podcast, let me know what you guys thought about this movie. Please write down in the comments. Did you like this movie? Did you hate this movie? Are you going to see the new Pokemon movie? What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to have a new Pokemon movie? And if you enjoyed listening to these guys, they also have their own YouTube channels. They have their own things. Fanboy, do you want to plug yours in?
Yeah, you can catch all of our different content on Super Fancom on YouTube. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us there. You can also find me directly on the channel creating additional content such as indie game let's plays and various fan discussions. If you want to reach me, I am on Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook at Fanboy Gif.
Gearhead Alice, would you like to plug in yours?
Of course. You can find me at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at gearhead_Alice. And I will be doing cosplay and con stuff on here. Welcome to the Gear Shop.
If you love cosplay as much as I do, you need to check her out, guys. She has a really awesome Instagram.
Aw, thank you.
I really mean that.
Oh.
Let's see. And last but certainly not least, Rick, would you like to say something?
Mr. Mime. Which means you can find me forgetting about the fact that I have Pokemon Go on my phone. Also, you can find me at Twitter at Default Rick, YouTube at Retro1Up. Check out the channel at the Super Fancom. Check us out on the Super Fancom on Twitter. Back to you, Deej.
Thank you, Rick. I sometimes will cameo on their shows as well, and they will definitely appear here on Broken Caffeinated a bunch of times, whether it's the podcast or even some animated shorts. Tons more projects in the works.
Yes.
But thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did talking about it. even if we had some emotional moments,
Emotional breakdowns.
I'm actually a little weary of. I'll still do it. I'm still going to do Attack on Titan, but I'm a little weary of it now because that was a moment for me right there.
Let's wait until I watch it. Just saying. But go ahead.
Okay. But thanks for all for tuning in, and until then, remember, you got to catch them all, guys. I can promise you'll do better than Ash.
Dig.
You can't be worse than Ash. I'm sorry.
So,
Alola.
up from there, guys.